All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Wednesday evening, the second half of a doubleheader here on KnicksFanTV, the number one show for the fans by the fans. Subscribe to the channel if you're a diehard Knicks fan, if you're a basketball fan and you want to hear about and react to the latest news and rumors regarding the New York Knicks. Call us up with your takes on the KnicksFanTV Discord. CP the Franchise, JD Sports Talk here. And on today's show, a couple other interesting head coaching candidates have emerged here and when it comes to the replacement for Tom Thibodeau. So we're going to talk about it, react to it. Plus, whose decision was it to fire Tom? Was it Leon's? Was it James Dolan's? It's an interesting debate going on there. That plus your calls to people who couldn't get in last night. Give us a call with your takes. Are you agreeing or disagreeing with the Tibbs firing? Who do you want as the replacement? Let's talk about it, man. Holla at your boys. All right, man. It's good, bro. Welcome back, man. How we doing, man? Hang on.
Yeah. Just still, still digesting yesterday's news. Listen, we could run a 24-hour stream and talk about every angle of what's going on here in Knicks Nation. And as, we see with today, news continues to reveal themselves around the New York Knicks in their new head coaching search. And the offseason begins. So I think the fan base is kind of pumped up. There's some sadness with Tom Thibodeau being gone right now. But, we have to move forward and continue to pursue the ultimate goal, which is a championship. And so there's still some questions that were asked. And, Begley's article, I thought, answered some of that. Mm-hmm. And so here we begin. A new offseason, a new journey, and let's talk about it.
For sure. And we'll talk about some of Ian Begley's article as well, because he had some interesting things, some interesting tidbits in that one for sure. But yeah, this one came across the news wire early this morning or late last night, whatever, depending on what time you're up. According to Mark Stein, ESPN or former ESPN, but NBA insider Mark Stein covers the Dallas Mavericks, says that the Knicks are reportedly interested in Jason Kidd and Ime Udoka for the head coaching job. However, given that these guys are still under contract, you would need permission from the team to speak to these guys. You would have to exchange some sort of compensation, most likely draft capital, and then you sign these guys to a deal. But according to him, neither team is expected to grant the Knicks permission to speak to either one of these guys, man. What do you think? Let's start with Udoka, man. What do you think? Yeah, audio.
I think this news by Mark Stein, who is based out, he does a lot of stuff with Dallas, as we know. I also think he's underrated in terms of the tiers of reporters. Obviously, we know from the past being Woj, Shams. Mark Stein, I think, is up there in terms of credible reporters. So he does definitely have insight with anything Dallas. But as far as Udoka and the Houston Rockets, I think this signals the Knicks are going to pursue every avenue to acquire maybe a big name coach. Kidd and Udoka in today's landscape, those are some big name coaches. And Udoka, he has proven himself, I think, now to be a top-notch, legitimate championship caliber coach, considering the stint he had in Boston. But also, I thought when he was hired in Houston, this was an opportunity for him to kind of stamp a lot of the buzz that he has garnered early on in his career. And I think he's done that with the job that he has done with that Houston Rockets team. Some of the veterans is Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks, if you want to do that, and Steven Adams. But other than that, he's been able to, he has a budding star there in Thompson that he's helping to develop. He has some players in the bench that haven't even gotten time, and he has some good players like Tari Eason and some players there in the rotation that he has, that are ascending under his tutelage. So I think Udoka would be a dream,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of credibility, being, he's familiar with the Atlantic Division, being the Boston Celtics. I think it's unlikely, but again, this is a signal to me that the Knicks are going to look at every avenue possible because CP, I think the Knicks are in a position for the first time and who knows how long when they can dictate terms. How many times have us as fans, we've been in this situation where we want a coach, but we're never the desired destination.
Mm-hmm.
I think this job now is very much desired, and the Knicks are in a position to pursue who I think they want.
Yeah, he would be great. I'd hire him in a heartbeat. I'm with you. There's no way Fertitta and Houston lets him walk out that door. He took that team to a 52-30 record in the West, right behind OKC. With, I think they need a talent upgrade, or maybe give some time for the youngsters to ascend to that level, that superstardom, that superstar level. They need that, but certainly through playing hard, their defense was ferocious. Sengun had a great year. Like, Sengun had an all-star year. He turned Sengun into an all-star. And a serviceable defensive player. And look, they got some good experience there in the Golden State series. I've picked Golden State. A lot of people pick Golden State, so they fell short, but he would be great. And as you said, went to the finals with the Celtics. So,
He went 41-41 his first year, almost made the playoffs his first year. And as you mentioned, I think one of the intrigues for the Knicks is the Knicks are, we see it. They want to win a championship. And with these two names here, especially with Udoka, it's a coach that can come in here and take care of the pressure. The pressure won't mean nothing to him, but also the Sengun relationship. I think they look at Cat, and the front office is intrigued about that potential of what Udoka could potentially do with Karl Anthony Towns in a defensive scheme. But I think it's more of a pipe dream for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then, look, the Jason Kidd prospect, he did ask me about that one yesterday. I did shoot it down, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I would shoot it down because he is a good coach. He did go to the finals last year. You give him that. The Knicks connection, he was a first half of his stint here in that season. He was great for the Knicks. And then the second half, he fell off a cliff. He got old. He was who he was. But a lot of players give him that credit. You could argue that he got some of his coaching chops started with here. The Brunson connection. Could be something there, man. I don't know if Dallas will let him do that. But hey, when you think about stability and instability, these two organizations are in a complete reverse right now. Hey, Kid would be intriguing. That would be an intriguing pickup.
Yeah, the Jason Kidd one is very, very interesting to me because I think first, as you mentioned, the biggest complication here is his current situation. What would happen there? The Knicks would definitely have to do some investigating there. You would have to find out what is his current status with that organization. There's been a lot of rumblings on was he in or not in with the whole Luka fiasco, that whole trade. And if he wasn't, because there's been conflicting versions of was Jason Kidd in lockstep with the organization on that Luka trade, and other versions that he wasn't, that he was caught off guard, and that he wasn't too happy about it. And so that dynamic with how does Jason Kidd see his future in Dallas, and also the Mavericks getting the number one pick, I think
Cooper
now
Flag
adds another layer to this, because maybe without that asset, if Jason Kidd wants to move on, maybe they don't do that because you wouldn't have enough. It's like it's more of a additional fiasco. It's like we don't have assets, and we're gonna let this young coach go. But now if they keep the pick, Cooper Flag and all that, that's they have something to build towards the future. And if Jason Kidd doesn't see himself as a part of that, would they be as difficult with letting him, leave to another destination? You mentioned potential compensation, like a
Yeah.
Udoka, you got to give first round picks, I would think,
Right. Probably.
something
Yeah.
like
Probably a
that.
first. Yeah.
But a Jason Kidd, Dallas has had some, negotiations in the past with the New York Knicks, so they know who they're dealing with here. So there's a relationship somewhat there. I know Mark Cuban is not the major owner there anymore, but there's still a history there. Um, and then as a coach, listen, he, him being a player coach, I think holds weight. He's a former New York Knick. He's worked with, you know, stars as a player when
Mm-hmm.
he was with the New Jersey Nets, and also here, like you mentioned, like he could have. Was probably a stepping stone into his coaching career, having to work with a personality like Carmelo Anthony, and that
Mm-hmm.
veteran leading team that they had. There was additional personalities there that he had to, had to build chemistry with, and there was a lot of good feedback from his time. He's very interesting, man. But oh man, I'll say this: with the likes of a Jason Kidd, the longer that this goes, as it pertains to Johnny Bryant, the more that curiosity is going to start to hit the surfaces on what is the
Mm.
true list plan. What's the true target of the Knicks? Because the free agents coaches are there. Johnny Bryant's a free agent coach.
Mm-hmm.
You would say, he's not a head coach under contract, but he's a guy that you can just hire outright. So Jason Kidd, I think the longer this drags, we'll see what happens there. But I'm just interested to see where this goes, because everything I'm connected to Johnny Bryant, because it seems the betting odds, BetUS today has
Mm-hmm.
him at minus 150. He's the favorite. But I'm just saying, the longer this drags, I'm just interested to see if the Knicks want to get like a bigger name or more established, ready coach because of the statement that Leon Rose made yesterday
Mm-hmm.
in his press release.
About this team, their sole goals to win a championship. And we had Bobby Marks on earlier, and he agreed. He mentioned the same thing in terms of that opening statement, and thinking that this team, their statement there, if you read the tea leaves, is saying that this team is ready to take that next step. And we're looking to get to a coach that can take us there. Here was also Bobby Marks. This was earlier today on KnicksFanTV. This was the first half of our show. If you guys haven't seen our show with Bobby Marks, definitely tap in, because we talked about the coaching situation, and then we also touched on off-season free agency, salary cap. Very detailed show, so make sure you guys tap into that. But here, just a clip. Here was his thoughts on Jason Kidd. Here we go. Here's Bobby Marks.
Going to be a hard no. I think Mark had even said, like, even if they asked, they would. And
Yeah.
Eric certainly in Miami. Listen, I think Spo's a terrific coach. Jason is interesting. Jason has evolved a lot. Just I had him as a player, had him as a coach. That what we threw him in that 13-14 season was, I don't think anybody can, can go through that process there. And then you look at Milwaukee, and then becoming an assistant, and then what he's been able to do in Dallas. I think Jason's a heck of a coach. I really do. And he's got ties to the Northeast, and he can deal with, like, the expectation levels doesn't bother him.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because of where they are with, roster wise. It's a lottery team, but it's kind of a win now team here.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be more of like him having a conversation with Nico, if this is hypothetically what he wanted, him having a conversation with Nico Harrison, as far as saying, like, this is where I see my, where my preference would be, like, almost like any person who, if you're working for a company and you have an opportunity to go work somewhere and you're going to make more money and there's job security and there's different things, it's basically approaching your boss and saying, like, hey, and then all they have to do is say no or yes, or like, why don't you go meet with them? But Jason would be interesting as far as, the people that are still under contract.
Yeah. All right. So that was Bobby Marks.
See, and as you can see in his thoughts, you could tell that Bobby Marks, who is in the front office, sphere. If that's Bobby Marks's thoughts, you could sense the intrigue and the curiosity of his situation. Like, there's obvious opportunity there for Jason Kidd to, have a conversation about his future and not sort of like dictate what he wants to do, but it's like just do a serious evaluation on what is his current situation. I remember Kyrie Irving is out most of next, like half of next season. I think he's projected to be out until after the new year. And then I understand Cooper Flag, if they keep the pick and they draft Cooper Flag, but it's not like it's LeBron year one, and even LeBron year one and then take his team to the playoffs. So it's like, that's a developing situation. Anthony Davis is going to be a year older. So although they have the number one pick, it's just an interesting fit with their current core, with one of their stars being also injured, coming off an injury where, I know KD has been successful, but the Rudy Gays and other players, you saw the steep decline that they had, even though they came back healthy. So Kyrie is going to be another test to today's science on that injury in terms of the ability to come back and be elite. So Jason Kidd is very, very interesting, and we'll see. I guess in the next coming days to weeks what happens there.
Yeah, for sure. It is interesting. Somebody in the chat was saying that the due diligence is just a smokescreen, that Johnnie Bryant's going to be the guy, but they fired Tibbs knowing that they would own the $30 million. And look, to Dolan, it is what it is. They'll pay. Several guys have gotten their bags, full bags. So that doesn't matter. But they fired Tibbs. Did they do it with a plan? Or are they really canvassing the NBA to be like, we have Johnnie Bryant here, but if we could do better, we'll do better. Like, did they really do this without a plan? Or are they just making sure they do their due diligence? I think that's an interesting question, man. As you said, if it continues to play out, the longer it plays out, the more it'll be that way, which is still interesting, man.
Yeah, and that's also an interesting perspective. If they did this with a plan, you would have to think, I don't know that, listen, money is money, but 30 million is 30 million. And, you always have to present plans to ownership whenever you're making decisions, especially decisions that it's going to cost you money. So you would think some semblance of a plan was presented to James Dolan to sign off on what's next, or what is the possibilities of what could happen with us making this decision. Because the Tom Thibodeau thing is also interesting on how soon it came after the season. I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, CP. I don't, because you had said even like going into the Pistons series that evaluations are starting. Like, and then, you had the thin ice later on, but even before that, like, and then you saw how the Pistons series went, and Bagley and people were saying like, there's things are heating up here. So I wonder if even, I just wonder if this front office knew even before the playoffs that this is likely where we're going to go. Anything less than a championship, or maybe even a finals appearance, because everything to me is just connecting to something else that they had in mind as a vision when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. And then now, going into the next plan that they have now.
Yeah. Good points there. Shout out to MJ in the chat. So to everybody in the chat once again, man. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. CP the Franchise, JD Sports Talk on the ones and twos. We got an active chat going on YouTube, Bleacher Report, and Facebook right now. So shout out to everybody watching on those platforms. Millennium Hershey, AO Doggy, salute. Salute to our Russo. Salute to our franchise channel members as well. And yeah, we in here rocking, man.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
J Kidd, you consider, if they make this happen with J Kidd, is that a splash?
That's as splashy as it's gonna get. You know what I mean? It's as splashy as it's gonna get. I mean, the guy just went to the finals last year.
Yeah.
It's as splashy as it's gonna get.
He had a bigger resume than JJ Redick, and JJ Redick was considered kind of like a splash move, although a risky move, but he was considered a splash move because of his relationship with LeBron.
Yeah.
In the NBA landscape, Jason Kidd has a much bigger resume on the court and off the court.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good question. I would say, look, it's as splashy as it's gonna get, as it would get. MJ in the chat. Shout out to MJ. He's asking, and this was a big debate all morning long, from last night into the morning. Who was the firing on? Was it Tibbs? I mean, was it Leon? Was it this a Dolan move? Everybody wants a point. This is a classic Dolan move. He's getting involved again, this, that, and the third. Now, Ian Begley in his article said that this was a Leon initiated with support from Dolan, and that had it been an ultimatum, which some people think, according to Ian Begley, he says, if had it been an ultimatum, Leon would have left with Tibbs.
That's a statement.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Ooh, I mean, that offers some clarification there. You know, I think that's one of the bigger nuggets of Ian Begley's article is, you know, a lot of people, you saw it today on national media. You know, Dolan's catching a lot of heat, as expected. I think it is interesting, especially from a mainstream media standpoint today, how it just seems like, is Dolan ever going to get credit even if we win the championship?
Right.
Like, why is the criticism today as if we're coming off losing seasons? It's like the criticism I hear that he's getting today is the same criticism that he was getting when we were a laughingstock. Then it was warranted. Then it was valid. Then it was undisputable. But it's like, how many seasons now are we trending upwards? We've had different rosters. We've had stability with a front office. We've had continuity. We've had a coach for 5 years. And they make a decision with actual basketball reasons, in my opinion. I mean, there's actual basketball reasons. I understand his resume may speak to getting another year and the accomplishment of the ECF. But I don't know, it hit a nerve with me that it's like we worked ourselves to get away from that, and yet somehow today he was catching that type of heat. Like that was a little disappointing for me. But I think that the clarification speaks to what people wanted to know. Like, there's always going to be that curiosity. I deal with it as a Giant. We deal with it as Giant fans. CP with John Mara. Is John Mara going to make the decision on the Giants drafting a quarterback or not? Like, and you know, Dolan has said, he said it in the Roommates podcast, that he's going to allow these people to do what they need to do. And I think it was since the Phil Jackson era. I remember when everybody wanted us to get someone, and he got us Phil Jackson, and it wasn't a great hire.
And everybody wanted him to get up out of here, and he got him up out of there.
He got him up out of here. And so, you know, okay, he was part of the exit meetings. Well, listen, so what? Like, he's the owner. And if he was in these exit meetings, to me, that tells you this is a critical point of this franchise. This is a critical point of this direction of our goal. And so, to me, from a Leon perspective, man, that's revealing, because I guess Leon supported this. Leon had a tough evaluation. And if it is as so, I continue to say they did it with Randall. They did it with Dante DiVincenzo with the Villanova connection. Now they're doing it with Tibbs and CAA and all that. And then Leon Rose's first sentence in his press release was, our singular focus is a championship. And he told you there, and I've even heard a little bit of criticism, CP, of him saying that, because I've heard a few rumblings of people saying that maybe he was a little too harsh, because you're saying that, you're kind of putting a cloud over Thibodeau in terms of Thibodeau getting another job, because you're saying to everyone, that's not a championship caliber coach. That's why we made the decision. We want to win a championship. And it's in writing. That led to us to this decision. So to me, Leon Rose is going up front, and he's saying, put the pressure on me now. There's nowhere to hide.
Taking the bullets.
I'm going to take the bullets. This is our focus, and this is what I want to do.
Taking the bullets.
How can you be mad at that?
Yeah, I think the Dolan stuff is ridiculous. He's the owner of the team. He sits 5 feet away from the bench every single night. He's been watching. Everybody's been watching what's going on for 5 years, rightly or wrongly, in terms of the Tibbs decision. You think you're going to come to me, ask me for $30 million or whatever it was, and I'm just going to be sitting back strumming my guitar, tuning it up, and not paying attention to what's going on? You damn right he's going to be involved in the exit meetings. Who wouldn't? Right? Like, you're going to go to me, ask for millions and millions of dollars to invest in this guy, and I'm just going to be just sitting at home staring at the wall? So, to me, it doesn't even matter whose decision it was. If they don't feel like this is the guy, hey, in business, you got to take a risk. You got to take a risk. I'm indifferent to it. Go for it. If they feel like the next guy, I've been trusting Leon move so far. Everything hasn't been perfect, but I've loved what he's done so far. It's a very difficult job that he did. Go for it. I don't care whose idea it was. Go for it.
And more than ever before, I've seen Dolan more involved with the Knicks in terms of his engagement with the team. He's been in many more games than in the past.
Every game.
Saw videos almost every. He was there every playoff game. He's going out. He's giving basketballs to fans. I don't know if it's before or after games.
Yeah,
like he was involved with the team as far as because the team is a contender. So I'm sure a lot of it also is just that ownership. I mean, listen, he's been here during the dark times. I'm sure he's also excited about seeing his product be the main focus of the NBA. I mean, the other thing too is, CP, is there NBA finals going on this week? Because everything is Knicks everywhere.
Nobody cares.
You know what I mean?
No, nobody cares.
Everywhere on
nobody
the timeline,
cares.
all the main networks is Knicks topic clips everywhere, right?
Nothing about Halliburton and SGA. Nobody gives a shit, man. Nobody cares, bro.
For the last couple days, it's like all networks. It's just Knicks, and I'm like, and all that stuff gets to Dolan, man.
Yeah,
and I'm sure Dolan has seen some of the criticisms and all that stuff, and I think people forget when you get to this level of a franchise in terms of contention, there's more conversation. This is when the owner gets more involved because you sense you're close. We're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's how it feels like. You're almost there. So the owner's going to come to the office more. He's going to ask more questions. He's going to ask Leon Rose, okay, what do you think? Do you think this is the guy? Do you think he can get us there? Because as an owner,
he said it on the roommates.
Yeah. As an owner, you're like, right here, we're close to a championship. What do I have to do now as an owner to give you the resources to get you there? How can you not think those conversations were had?
Easily. So, yeah, I just think that's very interesting. Millennium Hershey on the Bleacher Report says they already have their man. We just don't know it yet. Well, time will tell. And, again, could it be Johnnie Bryant? Because today the Phoenix Suns made a hire. He was a finalist. And he did not get the job because the Phoenix Suns have hired Jordan Ott as their head coach. And according to reports, Devin Booker was highly involved. I have no idea why he's even still there, but I don't get it. I don't get it, man. With the whole Booker Phoenix thing, the thing that just puzzles me. But anyway, does that open the door now for Johnny to make it back to New York? Another job. What did he decline this? Was this out of,
Yeah, I think Johnny's smart, man. I think he, sometimes you have coaches that, or potential coaches, hot candidates. It reminds me of like Ben Johnson in the NFL where he's had multiple opportunities and he just waited until he felt he had all the infrastructure around for him to take the leap of faith. Because now in professions, you take that first job. And, like with Darvin Ham, I don't know if Darvin Ham's going to get another opportunity. Like, you don't succeed on that first one. All that hot commodity stuff, especially in today's landscape, CP, where you could be a successful coach and still get fired. You want to throw Tom Thibodeau with Mike Malone and Adrian Griffin and all those, like, you could still get canned out here.
Yeah.
And so I think Johnnie Bryant, I would say, wants the Knicks job. He is in a good situation already as it is in Cleveland.
Right.
So there's no rush.
Ain't no rush. Phoenix saying you ain't turning things around over there. Forget that.
Right. So it's like he understands. I'm starting to get more interviews. I'm starting to be on the radar. Why rush it now? I've paid my dues, but if this Knicks job is an opportunity, I have no problem waiting. I have no problem waiting it out, and see what happens there. And I think, my opinion, I think that's where he's at, is he's going to wait it out a little bit and see what happens with the Knicks. I think the Knicks situation is going to be kind of like, with the big free agent signs and then everything kind of takes care of itself. I think the Knicks are that as far as a head coaching standpoint. I think Phoenix was just an outlier because they have their own situation. The Knicks seem to be connected to a lot of people and a lot of moving parts here in this offseason. I think that's the big domino effect that everyone's going to wait on.
Yeah, good points there. Everybody said in the chat, this guy, Jordan Ott looks like a referee.
And hold on. Wasn't he like an assistant also with Johnnie, Brian?
Is that right?
I think they coming from. I think they're both.
That's funny.
I think they're both assistants.
That is
from
funny.
From the same. Look, hiring Cleveland Cavaliers assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go.
That's crazy.
Very interesting. But yeah, good points there on Johnnie Bryant. Yesterday we took a brief time out to address the haters. You know who was hating heavy from last night to this morning? Man couldn't keep my name out of his mouth. Your man Isola, man. Oh my God. Isola is going crazy over last night's show. He's a Tips. I mean, if you want to talk about Tips Fan TV, he's alumni. He's the creator.
He's the founder.
Isola could not stop hating. He had to bring me up every 2 minutes on the starting lineup today on Sirius XM with him and Scalabrine. Two guys who are absolutely clueless when it comes to the Knicks. Oh my goodness. It was borderline an obsession.
Oh my God.
If you got a Sirius XM, listen, I work for NBA radio, so normally I wouldn't plug this show. But if you have it, take a listen to starting lineup this morning. It was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. But this is the impact of KFTV, bro. This is the impact.
Wow. Yeah, man. Sometimes you wonder, is that relationship driven or Isola used to cover the Knicks, but he used to catch a lot of heat when he covered the Knicks.
Yeah, all the time.
Then now people are like, oh, now when the team is good, all of a sudden now you want to, go the other way, but with Tibbs and.
Yeah. Oh, they were hating so heavy, man. They hope this thing absolutely implodes. Him and Scalabrine. Because, Scalabrine is a Celtics guy, and, oh, man, they're not in our level, da-da-da-da-da. And we got packed them up.
He was already.
Yeah,
he got packed up already.
He also said that, even the Pistons series, he was hating. He was like, "Oh man, you put these two teams up in a team draft. I'm taking more Pistons than I am Nick." He literally said this. This was an NBA player, bro. This was an NBA player. I said, man, oh man, bro.
He got time on his hands, wasn't he? Over here downtown playing someone.
Yeah, he was taking on George the Animal Steel. So because he beat him. That
thinks he
that
nice.
foul merchant.
He think he runs New York.
He thinks he's got body now. He thinks he's got body because he packed up George the Animal Steel at West 4th Cage.
He think he got credibility because he think he came to the streets and played.
Yeah. Nah, I think what it was because we put the clip out about some of the things that leaked out at the exit meetings. So Isola must have retweeted that like, oh man, that's terrible, blah blah, that's BS. And then people from Knicks Twitter came in the replies and packed them up.
So because what it was is you hit a nerve.
Struck a nerve badly.
You have people sometimes, and Isola obviously seems to be one of them, that when they're so jaded on a perspective or a point, there's just no way that it could be.
No
How
way.
could the players?
No way.
That's
No way.
nonsense.
Yeah.
No way the players,
Yeah.
the guy that built you up and first time in 25 years, like they're stuck on the accomplishment and on the resume.
That was
they forget about current events.
Verse for verse, bar for bar this morning. Precisely that, bro.
They forget about current events, CP.
Yeah.
They forget about the times we're in. And those are the takes and perspectives that get today's people saying you're an old head. You got old head vision. You got old head takes. You're outdated. Because we get the accomplishments. But give me the current events. Give me, basketball takes. Give me like what those players are feeling in the locker room from a day-to-day perspective. And all I've been hearing as far as a support of like those diehard supporters is they go to the resume points.
Yeah.
As the talking points. But they forget the game.
Yeah.
And also all of a sudden too, CP, everyone has an opinion. You got basketball guys and basketball analysts now having an opinion about this move. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Mr. TD in the chat said, didn't he see Isola on the show before? He's been on the show before. And Scalabrini. They both been on the show. Me and Frank just texted me like 2 weeks ago because he was going off on the Tommy Beer situation. We got my number. I got his number. We talk. That's why it's like very snaky like. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see him in summer. I'm gonna see him at Summer League. It's very snaky like behavior, bro. Bro, literally every 3 minutes. Could not stop talking about me, bro. Every 3 minutes. Very weird energy, man. Very get off my lawn-y type, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and he's also been dismissive of everything. Like when Mikel said what he said, and that was big news, he dismissed that, and he was like going the other way, and it's like, that's what he said, not me.
Yeah,
those are the facts.
Yeah,
so it's like he's been going against. It's like the old school evaluator that just constantly. It's like what today's player says about the old head players. Where it's like, Kevin Durant says that, well, we can't do anything today because you're going to criticize it anyways, even if it's good for the league.
Right.
Like, that is where I kind of see that perspective, because when it comes even to writers, some of the writers today still evaluate things on an old school basis where some of that doesn't hold true today. It's just, it is what it is. What do you want me to do? Like Malone got fired. What do you want me to do?
It is what it is, man. So I get very interesting. Somebody woke me up this morning and told me about it. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Let's take some calls from the Discord. Mr. Ed, are you still in the Discord? Mr. Ed, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Been enjoying the show so far.
Appreciate it.
You guys brought up a lot of points that have been on my mind today after what happened yesterday. So I'll keep it short and quick, but I have a couple things that I'd like to talk to you guys about. First off, what you guys just talked about with Isola. It feels like the old guard of New York media is still trying to claw its way back into relevancy a bit. Like Frank Isola, for years has done the kind of that usual back page shtick. Mark Berman, he retired and he's still,
Berman's still lobbing grenades over the fence down in Florida. He's still from the pickleball court trying to muddy up the waters. This decision was on by so-and-so and so-and-so. Bro, you ain't been around in 5 years, man.
Yeah, he's probably on the beach somewhere with Phil Jackson. They check the box score or whatever, and But but what you guys said before in the show about if Leon and company had a plan, and that's been on my mind all day. Especially if they decided to fire Tibbs in the regular season, let's say even before the Pistons series. They had to have had a couple guys in mind to replace him.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting hearing that they want to do a like a wide-ranging search and like do their due diligence. But it's interesting because you have names like Jason Kidd popping up, Johnnie Bryant, of course, that we already know. But and you guys mentioned this too, with the way that Leon phrased the press release. Are these coaches that are an actual lateral move for this team? I mean, Jason Kidd definitely went to the finals. I mean, last season we saw it, but I mean, they didn't win. Technically, he's still on that same level of Tibbs of not having rings, not championship experience. And I mean, Kidd obviously as a player, went to the finals too, but still couldn't get the job done. And Johnnie Bryant, is an interesting candidate because he could bring, a modern offense like Jason Kidd, but at the same time also he's not really proven. So if you're Leon and everyone else and you're thinking about wanting to go after an elite coach that has proven themselves before, and if a current coach, I think Alan Hahn said this today on ESPN, that the Knicks are a contender.
You're right.
And we have a lot of money to throw someone. And I don't know. I think realistically, if you look at who is a current head coach that might not be in a position that they necessarily like, even regarding other circumstances, this is a crazy shot in the dark. But I think you got to give Eric Spoelstra a call.
Okay, appreciate the call, man. I don't know if if Pat Riley, Mickey Harrison, and the Miami Heat secretary will answer. They'll probably be out on a yacht somewhere. So, I mean, look, I don't see there's any chance Pat Riley is helping us, especially when they got their own they got their own stuff to deal with. They ain't helping us, man. Forget that.
Maybe if, because Pat Riley, you're a little snake, so he evaluates the possibilities. If we were like a rebuilding team where it's like a long process, maybe he wouldn't care because he's like, oh, but we're at like the brink of getting to the promised land.
Yeah.
So Pat Riley's like, y'all not putting my coach on your resume. I'm not assisting that alley-oop.
Riley's not helping Dolan. Yeah, maybe if we had 2 firsts left from the Mikal Bridges trade, maybe that would have gotten it done. That would have been historic and probably worth it. So, you know what I'm saying? That would have been historic and worth it.
Yeah.
They don't got no picks. So, but Pat ain't helping us, man. And like with the whole process, do I think more than likely than not they have somebody in mind? Absolutely. I don't think they're just going through this blind willy-nilly because it didn't necessarily come down to this. Remember a couple years ago when they were in a bit of a skid in like the first half. Remember that? That was like maybe year 3. There was rumblings back then.
Yeah.
That Worldwide West was ready to get the knife out. Worldwide West is ready to cut ties. That was a couple years ago. So, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. This thing, the talk didn't just start in the playoffs. So I would have to think there is a process, but I just think it is interesting that you are hearing these names. Well, I would question, I really hope they do, but I think they do.
Yeah, and like I said, you fire a coach like Tibbs. I understand the whole, let's open up this process. That's due diligence. That's also showing the fan base, listen, we looked everywhere. But I don't know, man. If it's the guy if the guy you really want is out there, there's also that perspective of just get him. All right, do a little semantics, interview a couple people, but just don't let that guy go. So that's why I think the longer this drags, the more I believe they have someone in mind, and they're looking to see what has to be done to get that coach here.
Yeah. Shout out to a couple good ones in here. Shout out to Rambo from Tampa, says Johnny B. Steve Kerr effect, new blood. Well, hey, listen, it can go up that way. It could also go down. Remember Fred Hoiberg? Remember when Fred Hoiberg was a hot candidate? Took over for Tibbs in Chicago and he almost had a Chicago fire. Almost burnt the whole place down. 42-40 in his first year with the Bulls.
Hopefully we don't run into a Lakers situation.
Right.
The Lakers situation last year with Dan Hurley and the whole fiasco with Shams and J.J. Redick and all that. And then it turns out Shams was, I think Shams was right because Shams was talking about, and then it ends up being J.J. Redick was the coach. And Laker fan base was like confused. Which one is it? And so hopefully it's a smoother process here and we ultimately get the guy that we want.
Yeah, the Ryan Saunders situation. He took over for Tibbs halfway through in Minnesota and never really recovered. He had a straight 2 losing seasons with them. We'll see, man. Can the third Tibbs successor have better luck and get us to the NBA Finals? Because that's pretty much the bar right now, bro. That's the bar.
How about this? If we could get Jason Kidd, are you taking Jason Kidd or Johnny Bryant?
Kid. Experience. I'm taking the experience.
Okay, so you're falling along the lines of
He's won a ring. He's a point guard. He has significant coaching experience. And he went to the finals last year. I have to. Has to be Kidd. He's a proven commodity.
The interesting thing with the experience factor is it's valid because that's what you want at this point. There's a lot of risk with going with a J.J. Redick style. You saw he had a rough series that series there last. He had a great season in that playoff series. A lot of the rookie stuff got unpacked there. Mm-hmm. So you run the risk of that. But the only thing, that's why to me they have to have someone specific in mind. Mm-hmm. Because when you talk about experience, after Kidd, I don't know, CP, like all the other guys that quote unquote have experience, does Mike Brown do it for you?
Hell no.
He has experience.
Nah.
Does Mike Budenholzer do it for you?
No.
He has experience.
No.
Darvin Ham do it for you?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not?
No.
You're not ready for a salute in the timeout?
No.
You're not ready for that?
Kid, you got to go Kid over Johnny, man.
But that's what I'm saying. If their criteria is we're prioritizing experience with a little bit of blend of youth, after Kidd, who provides that is also exciting?
Then you would go Johnny with a veteran bench coach. Johnny with a Mike Brown. I think either way if he's coming here, he's coming with a veteran bench coach. Either way. You got about 8 coaches now. You got 3 rows of coaches now. Your first officer is going to be a veteran head coach. That's definitely happening.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It won't be Rick. It'll be a veteran head coach.
And like Taylor Jenkins is intriguing, but it's just CP, it's something about, I think, hiring a coach that was fired, the Mike Malone's, the Taylor Jenkins. Mm-hmm. That I don't think would do it in this market. I get it, but if you hire a Taylor Jenkins, a Budenholzer, a Mike Malone, these are fired candidates. So does that really create excitement? That's why I think the Johnny Bryant is exciting because it's something we don't know. Jason Kidd is a guy that is in a current situation. Udoka is a guy that's in a current situation. Those are more, to me, exciting options with some risk to each. But the other guys are more guys that are just waiting for jobs. It's like, you're going to go there? That's what you're going to sell me on for a championship?
Mm. Fair points.
That's why when you start to break it down, there's not that many ways to go, which makes this whole thing interesting.
Yeah. Universal in chat, I've been promoting Monty Williams all night. No, thank you. I'm good. Shout out Young Kobe, $5 Super Chat says, you can argue that Jason Kidd is one of the reasons Brunson got the bag. He actually wanted to keep him in Dallas. Hey, a lot of you guys were hard, you know, the criticisms of the point guard. He needed to pass. The ball's too sticky. Who better than Jason Kidd to unlock that? If you can get him. Who better than Kidd, man?
Hey, when Kidd worked with Melo.
I was about to say, that ball was moving. That Melo had third in the MVP votes.
Bro, I remember Melo said in the interview, there's only been 2 point guards that he saw on that level that he respected, that when they said something to him, he got it.
Yeah.
And he said it was Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Facts. Absolute facts. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Interesting discussions here. So, Della Music 50 says, why isn't anybody talking about Sam Cassell? Champ as a player, assistant coach, learning on the bench in Boston. He's ready. Yeah, we talked about him yesterday. We just haven't heard his name really come up as yet. Doesn't mean he's not in consideration. But we talked about him yesterday. We talked about him today on our show with Bobby Marks. Make sure you guys tap in with that. Shout out OK Burt says Tibbs was a skilled mechanic who got an old car running smoothly again. But when it came time to enter a high-speed race, it became clear he couldn't get the engine to the next gear.
That's a clever
That
analogy.
is. Shout out to OK Burt, man. Salute.
A skilled mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again, man. Let's pay some bills, man. Shout out to one of our sponsors of today's show. And shout out to Cash App. I was about to say shout out to KnicksFanTV because that is our Cash App name. But Cash App is a new sponsor of the show. Now, a lot of you guys like us use Cash App to send and receive money. And we do that because, number one, it is easy. It is safe and it is reliable. You just download the Cash App and you set up a profile. Within the profile section, if you use our code KnicksFanTV, Cash App is going to reward you because once you get signed up with the code KnicksFanTV, and the link is in the video description, once you send $5 to a friend, you will get $10 back. $10 back. So it is a limited time only deal. It's for new Cash App users. And use our code KnicksFanTV to earn some additional cash. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. So salute to our guys at Cash App for sponsoring today's show. Okay, let's get to a couple more calls before we wrap up. Pops the legend. Pops, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How's it going, CP and JD?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. I've been giving it some thought, and I believe the fix is in. I think they already know who their coach is, and because you wouldn't fire Tibbs unless you had your strategy in place. And Leon Rose is too smart of a guy and too strategic to not have this thing already done. I think we're probably going to see that they're going to interview some people because they have to, but I already think that they got their guy, and all they're doing right now is probably talking numbers. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm talking to somebody now. Says JB loves J Kidd. He says don't discredit that. Don't discredit that. JB loves J Kidd, and he thinks the Mavs would let him talk. We'll see. He thinks the Mavs would let him talk. And this is somebody familiar with the situation.
Interesting. It'll be interesting too, because one of the criticisms of Kidd, at least in Mavericks land, is they wanted him to play some of the younger players with Hardy, Williams, some of the younger players, and obviously Luka was very heavy ISO out there too. So that's why it's interesting in terms of Kidd coming here, dealing with what's the plan after that? What's the plan with this roster? Because as a coach you have to answer to that. These are the criticisms here. What are we doing with this roster? So the whole thing is going to be interesting.
Very.
Because fans need to know that info too. Like everything is not nobody's perfect.
Yeah. That is true, man.
Not perfect either.
Stillicho on the Discord. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
In the place. How you doing?
All right, boys. Mostly same thing to say as yesterday. I'm fairly convinced the favorite for this is still Johnnie Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Kidd has an inkling of likelihood. I've got questions about Kidd as far as his coaching, but I think overall he'd be solid. I think he's probably like a tier 3 for likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants up out of Dallas after that Luka trade. He looked miserable.
That
man looked miserable at that press conference.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him. I'd want to be gone too if my front office did that to me.
Yeah.
There's something to be said, and this is going to be unpopular. I know it's a 0% likelihood because this man does not want out of the situation he is in, not with the team that he's built.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is a 1% of 1% for Ime Udoka, I love what he does with teams.
Mm-hmm.
He makes teams that I want to watch. So I would have full confidence in him if he got it. Like I said, it ain't going to happen. That man does not want to leave Houston. So I think there's smoke around J. Kidd. But overall, I'm still leaning towards Johnnie Bryant being the favorite to get the job.
Okay. I appreciate the call, man. That's our guy Silico on the Discord. Dave G, get in and close us out. Dave G. Do we have Dave? Dave, going once. Dave going twice. He called in yesterday. I'm trying to get to you, Dave. Trying to get to you. Okay. All right, Dave. You're gonna have to try to call back tomorrow. Shout out to Bobby Marks for coming on today. We see another super chat coming in. NYC B-Ball 08 $5 super chat says if Tibbs was a general, he would send half his troops to battle and wonder why they lost the war. Shout out to NYC B-Ball. All right, what else we got here?
What do you think about the Rick Brunson stuff?
In terms of?
Like Begley's piece on Rick Brunson. I know there's been a lot of questions there. What's going to happen next? And Begley said they're basically not going to force. They're not going to force Rick Brunson on a new coach.
Yeah.
However, it's like the new coach also has to think: are you going to piss off a star player?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a fluid situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. With it.
We've seen it with Giannis. In terms of organizations accommodating the star player.
Yeah.
Even in changing regimes.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
see that as a big deal.
Not really. Nah, I don't see it as a big deal. Without knowing anything, concrete. I don't think it's he's going to be around either way. You know what I'm saying? He'll be at the Garden either way. Whether it's on the bench, it's in a suite, it's on the front row, it's in the back row, it's in the Delta. He'll be here still. So I don't know how much he's pressing to be on the bench. He's still going to be Jalen's dad. They still going to the game together. They still leaving the game together. They still going to be talking about the game. They still going to be on the practice court. So I don't really see that as a big deal. You got like 3 rows of bench coaches nowadays. If the next coach wants to come in to appease people, he'll find room for him. If it's Johnnie Bryant because of the previous regime, he'll find a room for it. But if not, he'll still be around. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if him coaching with Tibbs was like, I want to be coach with Tibbs. Brought him in because they have a history. They had a history in Minnesota and Chicago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wouldn't really look at that as a big deal, honestly.
I agree. I don't think it's as big as deal. It's not as big as a deal for me because I don't see him being like even an associate head coach for any of the new coaches.
No.
Even if it's Johnnie Bryant, I don't see Johnnie Bryant coming in. I totally see Johnnie Bryant having him as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
A little bit further down the bench.
Right.
But not him being the same role he had with Tibbs.
Right.
So for that reason, I don't even think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I don't see it as a big deal. So we'll have to see. Oh, $10 super chat from our guy Jay Boogie. He says, do you really think Kidd would leave that roster with the number 1 pick with the chance of Flag becoming what he want with an American face to the league? Salute, salute, salute. Yeah, I do. I do. Because Nico ain't going to be there. So you're coming in here on almost at the penthouse with Boston in their situation. Cleveland is whatever. Pacers are going to be up there. You're starting off already top 3 in the East next year. Knock on wood, health permitted. In Milwaukee situation, whether he stays or he doesn't stay, we're not even considering them.
The West is crazy.
The West is crazy, and OKC ain't going nowhere. You got Minnesota to deal with. I don't know how much longer LeBron goes for the Lakers, but Houston,
at least for another year.
At least for another year, you got to deal with
the
Houston.
Rockets.
Yeah, within your own state, you might be 3rd, and you waiting on Kyrie to come back.
Bro, the West is crazy.
And you got San Antonio to deal with. Are they going to go get KD? You know they're going to start making moves.
Antonio's is on the come up. New year with Victor Wembanyama, Fox. They got the top pick. What do they do with that pick?
Right.
Does KD go there? And then let's see what happens with Giannis. Whether Giannis stays east, goes west. Like, bro, I get Flag has hype, but I don't even think Flag had Victor Wembanyama hype, to be honest with you.
Not even close. Not even close.
So I don't think he's franchise altering in the sense of even Wemby. So like, yeah, Kid is smart, man. Kid knows. Listen, this Flag kid is talented, but I don't think he's gonna alter this franchise.
Yeah,
like that, especially early.
Right. Again, just my opinion. I don't see it. This is more up to the Mavs letting Kidd talk. If they let him talk, I think he's out of there. Aaron Roberts, $10 Super Chat franchise channel member says, I believe Rose would not have fired Tibbs without having someone specific to lead our beloved Knicks to a chip. And Leon we trust. Yeah, I trust Leon, man. Definitely trust Leon. So there that is. Okay, great session, man. Yeah, definitely interesting time here in the Knicks verse. Shout out to George. Interesting time.
I have a feeling we're gonna get another moment of like me calling you. We gotta go live.
Yeah, gotta go live.
Gotta go live.
Yeah.
The Mikal Bridges, the firing, I just feel like I don't know, man. I don't know if the Knicks are gonna go have a very quiet off season.
Never is. Never is in the Knicks verse. We got Knicks Talk taking over the finals, which starts tomorrow, if people forgot. So we'll see, man. Yeah, we'll see. And speaking of jobs, shout out to our sponsor of today's show at LinkedIn Jobs, man. If you guys own a small to medium-sized business and you're looking for new talent, LinkedIn is definitely a great place to find them for 2 reasons. Number one, you have your typical job search engine that LinkedIn has, but also it's a social media site. So you can post to your network that you're looking for the latest and greatest talent, as well as share that job posting in the job search engine to find your next qualified candidate. And that's the thing about LinkedIn Jobs. It's very easy to load that in and very easy to sort through the candidates until you find the one that works for you. And the best part is you can post your job for absolutely free by going to linkedin.com/KFTV. That's linkedin.com/KFTV. Terms and conditions apply. All right, so shout out to our guys at LinkedIn Jobs for sponsoring today's show. Okay. There it is, man. Great show, everybody. Salute to the replay gang. Remember that this show's available in audio podcast format, so no reason to miss it. You can catch us on all major podcast platforms. And also, make sure you guys tap in to the Bobby Marks Show. After this, go watch the Bobby Marks Show again. We had a great show reacting to the coaching news and also digging into Knicks salary cap with free agency just about a little bit less than a month away. So make sure you tap in there. We got you locked in here. The number one show for the fans, by the fans. Knicks coverage all year long. Like, share, and subscribe. JD, great show. We out of here. Peace.